Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Friesinger.
And I'm Janelle Slade. As homes crumble under a Billings irrigation canal, the big question is, who's at fault?
So tonight we take a closer look at the responsibility of Montana's irrigation districts, the city of Billings, and the impact of water rights on others.
Q2 News first covered this story back in June.
People living in homes along Viewcrest Drive just under the rims started to see water pool in their backyards. Walls bow in and massive cracks appear in concrete foundations. The Billings Canal drainage ditch sits above the homes on a steep slope, and below is a neighborhood filled with dozens of homes. MTN Chief Investigative Reporter Andrea Lutz is digging into this issue and has new information, learning that experts are calling the situation in North Billings a potentially catastrophic event.
With the latest, Andrea joins us live from Viewcrest Drive at the very heart of this issue. Andrea.
That's right, Russ and Janelle. You know, some alarming details coming from an independent engineer that was called upon to take a look at the danger in this neighborhood. All of that after a brand new crack was discovered at the ditch just over the summer. So in the meantime, these homes that are right behind me, the damage in them has gotten progressively worse. So now those homeowners are looking to legal action. But the question is, do they have a case and who's at fault?
Like many ditches in Montana, the Billings Canal has been going for over 100 years.
We kind of got out in a hurry. Had to rent a storage unit and put pretty much everything we own in the storage unit.
But now those living on Viewcrest Drive find themselves
Cracking in here
also going.
on the foundation.
For Charlie and Sherry Grosskop, this is home.
This is my house, though. You know, I mean, this is where I've lived here for 17 years.
Until July, when the family was forced to move.
This is what happened in the master bedroom before the sheetrock fell.
Sheetrock started falling from the ceiling. Behind it, a massive crack in the foundation.
This is my daughter's bedroom, and it's pretty alarming when you see something like that.
And in their basement, a weeping wall of moisture they believe is coming from the Billings Canal leaking above.
If the ditch was maintained properly, I don't foresee any of this actually happening.
Next door, neighbor Don Kaiser has a crack in his foundation so large he can put his hand through it.
A geological survey done in the early 2000s indicated this area was at high risk for a landslide. But despite that, a developer moved forward and the city issued permits to build the homes below.
A recent engineering report said the canal loses 790 million gallons of water a year due to seepage through well-draining soil. Gary Davis with the canal declined to speak with us on camera, but told MTN Investigates the Billings Bench Water Association has been in and out of court before and prevailed. Court documents we obtained from 1985 show a developer tried suing after learning the land he purchased, where these homes are now, couldn't be developed, accusing the Billings Bench of negligence in maintaining their ditch. And a judge ruled in the favor of the ditch company. Davis says the homes should have never been built in the first place. So why did the city allow it?
The fine print that exists on people's deeds and where they build and whether it's close to the rims or close to the river or other things, there are risks there that we as a city don't, and I think probably appropriately don't regulate as a private property right. That being said, we want to make sure that what is built is done according to the code.
But in the meantime, City Administrator Chris Kukulski says the city is taking a closer look at the hillside, with the fire department even doing something called target planning in the event of a disaster.
We have not received anything that would say that it's imminent or this will happen. Otherwise, we would be taking appropriate action to evacuate the area, things like that. That's not where we are.
But a Bozeman engineer disagrees, sending this letter to the city. Doug Chandler with Allied Engineering expressed concern for a sudden and catastrophic failure. And a new crack may pose threat to the underlying homes.
And we can't turn it into the insurance. We've talked to the city about it, and they said talk to a lawyer or the ditch.
living out of totes, you know, just.
And not having the kids?
Yeah, they sleep in the house, yeah.
For now, the future of the Grosskopf's home is unknown. And now they're temporarily living in a fifth-wheel trailer on the other side of town. They're hoping the Billings Bench Water Association will do the right thing. They say that's buying the land below in which the homes sit and fixing the seepage.
Allow them to take ownership of this property so they can fix their ditch properly and fix the problem so that it doesn't happen, so it doesn't become catastrophic.
So the Billings Bench Water Association is working with its own engineer to formulate a larger scale plan to make improvements to the ditch. I am told, though, by a lawyer for the homeowners that the ditch has not claimed any responsibility for the damage to those homes and has not offered any sort of reimbursement for that damage. So, of course, the issue likely to play out now in court. But that being said, those homes behind me are empty. Every single month, those homeowners are still writing that mortgage check to send out. Russ and Jeanelle.
Q2's Andrea Lutz, thank you.
A Lewis and Clark County Sheriff Leo Dutton says he'll withhold information on future events until all the facts can be verified.
Now, the sheriff is referring to this week's scare at a Helena elementary school that caught national attention. It was first reported that an explosive device had been detonated on the school playground, which spread quickly on social media.
Well, it turns out that was not the case. The suspicious object was found to be a plastic bottle with waste from a nearby construction site. The sheriff now says if he could go back, he never would have used the word IED.
Community members and law enforcement still on the lookout tonight for a suspect who escaped from the Jefferson County Jail last week. Authorities in Jefferson, Madison, and Beaverhead counties looking for Tori Gee, who escaped from the county detention center Friday and is believed to have stolen a pickup truck in Boulder and then another truck near Twin Bridges on Monday. Now, Gee is also suspected of stealing a Montana Department of Transportation pickup truck Wednesday evening north of Dillon. Police have not yet recovered that stolen state pickup.
A state program that helps the disabled find and keep jobs in Montana is facing a big budget hit because of federal penalties. Now, advocates of the program thought the state would be appealing the penalties, but as MTN's Mike Dennison reports, that is not going to happen, and program advocates say that's not good news.
The Vocational Rehabilitation and Blind Services Program serves about 4,000 people with an annual budget of $13 million, including $10 million of federal money. But 3 years ago, the state says it enrolled too many people, leading to a big overspend of the program budget. That led the feds to levy substantial financial penalties on the Montana program. Beth Brenneman, an attorney for a disability rights group, says a council monitoring the program thought the state would try to get those penalties overturned.
Since the debacle was revealed to the council, they've been promising they would ask for a waiver of these particular penalties, and a decision now has been made that they will not.
That means the program will lose a net $3.3 million this coming year. And next year, the state says that amount hasn't been determined. But Brenneman said the council was told it would be $6 million. State officials don't think the requirements for getting the penalty waived can be met. They also say they squeezed down the program budget so they can carry over some money this year and continue to provide services, including some new clients. But the waiting list for the popular program has grown from 2,500 people a year ago to 3,200. And with the penalties, Brenneman says she'd be surprised to see it getting any smaller. She says that's too bad because it's a program needed even more in today's economy.
People with disabilities want to work, and many of the people that they serve don't need expensive services. They just need some help to try to identify where they could help the economy.
Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
That program also provides counseling and work preparedness skills for high school students with disabilities.
Congressman Greg Gianforte asking Google to do some self-searching and get the facts. During a congressional hearing, the Montana Republican blasted Google for refusing to take hunting ads from the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation in Missoula. Now, Google replies and says that hunting is considered animal cruelty and is inappropriate for its network. Gianforte calls the Google stand absurd.
Hunting is a way of life in Montana and many parts of the country. I'm very thankful that you worked quickly to reverse that, but I remain very concerned about Google's effort to stifle the promotion of Rocky Mountain Elk Foundations and how they were treated. I worry that other similar groups have faced similar efforts to shut down their advocacy.
Gianforte says he has invited Google executives to meet with representatives of Montana's outdoor recreation business, but has not yet received a response.
MSU Billings gets a huge boost to help finish the Yellowstone Science and Allied Health Building project. Today, Dr. William Ballard and his wife Marilyn made a $1 million pledge to help bridge the gap between cost overruns and campaign funds raised. The big donation will allow the university to continue with plans to include research labs, informal learning spaces, and a greenhouse in the facility. The 30,000 square foot expansion and renovation is expected to be completed by summer of 2021.
And there's more news from across our state on tonight's MTN 9 o'clock news. How much does it cost to have a park named after you? Well, join me at 9 on the CW for that answer and much more on your MTN statewide news.
But first, still to come on tonight's 5:30 news, the show must go on, and the Alberta Bear Theatre is preparing to make that happen. We'll update you on the construction status.
And in sports, Scott shows us how Elvis Old Bull is re-inspiring the Lodgegrass community 5 years after his death.
Temperatures very mild again this afternoon, but we're going to start to see a change, and that'll be as early as tonight. Here are the forecast details coming up.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 5:30 news on Q2, Montana's news leader.